Hey, it's Arsalan. Thanks very much for listening to Shahnameh quest so far. I wanted to take this moment to pause and mark that, for the first time in this story, we are changing dynasties. All the kings whose reigns we've traveled through so far, Qumars, Hushang, Tahmures, Jamshid, Zahak the Serpent King, Feridun, Manucher, Nozar, Zav, and lastly Garshasp, belonged to the Pishdadian dynasty. But now, with Rostam having fetched a new king named Qobad to lead Iran through this second wave of the Turanian invasion by Afrasiab, a new dynasty has begun. This dynasty, the Kayanian dynasty, will continue for a very long time and span dozens more episodes. In fact, the dynasty is so narratively vast that I'm not even ready to dedicate an episode to describing it, because we're still that early on in the process. Still, there are two important things you need to know before we continue. First, you'll notice that the kings from this moment forward will share the same title, K. Rather than being referred to only by their name, like Tahmures for example, the kings of the Kayanian dynasty have the title K said before their name. In the last episode, we introduced the first king of this dynasty, whose name is Qobad. His full name, and the one by which he's actually called, is Qobad. The same will apply to the king who eventually succeeds him, Qavus. He will be Qavus, and after that, Khosro will be called Khosro. So what does this title K mean? Etymologically, it is used as both a distinctive dynastic link, with K being a word for king in the Avesta, and itself being the root of Kayanian. Functionally, it also serves as a synonym for the title of king itself. Though not exactly the same, it's similar to how the word Caesar itself became a synonym for emperor, with the emperors of Rome after Julius Caesar even being greeted as Hail Caesar. But that's a loose parallel because K is just as much of a lineage identifier as it is a title. The second important thing to know about this dynasty is that it will extend across literary genres and bridge the Shahnameh's heroic age with its historical age. If you recall from the introductory episodes of this podcast, the Shahnameh begins in mythology, and over time, through a sequence of kings, transitions into real rulers who existed in history. By the time we reach the end of the Kayanian dynasty, however many dozens of episodes from now, we will have arrived in the historical age, and this podcast will become more like a documentary. You'll know when we're there because one of the first real figures to emerge at the end of this dynasty will be Alexander the Great, or Iskandar as he's known in Persian. But like I said, that is quite a while away. So, in summary, at this stage the only things you need to know before we continue are these. Many of the kings from now on will begin with the title K, and this dynasty, the second in the Shahnameh, will overarch a huge number of heroic cycles before launching us into the final section of the epic, the historical age. I anticipate that later on I'll do a deep dive into this dynasty's literary and dramatic significance. But for now, while we're still early, I wanted to primarily use this episode to mark where we are and this big transition. Coming up soon will be the true rise of Rostam, and the trials he undertakes to become Iran's greatest hero. And throughout, the themes and symbols we've encountered so far, good and evil, fathers and sons, wisdom and chaos, glory and disgrace, and the human and the supernatural, to name a few, will continue to deepen and complicate. So stay tuned, because there is plenty more Shahnameh quest to come. If you enjoyed this episode, feel free to share it or leave a review. Thanks for listening, and stay tuned for more Shahnameh quest.